Picture this, you're a business owner and people are calling all day and they ask the same repetitive questions. Nowadays we have voice AI and it's able to pick up the phone and answer your customers directly. If you're losing customers because they keep going to voicemail, or you're spending a fortune on staff to handle repetitive calls over and over again, or if you're missing opportunities because you're missing every call, then these 5 voice AI applications could really change your bottom line. After hour calls, qualifying leads automatically, arranging appointments, sending reminders, collecting feedback, and many more. Hey, if we haven't met yet, I am Mo from Sonar AI and we build voice AI agents for small to medium-sized businesses. And if you're interested in seeing how voice AI could actually fit into your own business, then I do invite you for a free consultation. I leave links in the description below. With that said, let's jump into the use cases. Onto lead capture and qualification. That means that we're able to call directly people who have shown interest into our services or products, and we can pretty much ask them specific questions to understand whether they might be a fit for our services. And once we understand, let's say if there is a fit, we can ask them to directly book a call with our sales teams. So that entails that we're able to pretty much cross-check calendar availability from our, let's say, sales team to kind of provide to the users different time slots that they can book in. And hence appointment scheduling. So that is a pretty strong feature that AI agents can pretty much allow businesses to automate the scheduling process for users and clients to provide services. So that means that we can create, let's say, bookings. Of course, we can check, first of all, if there is availability, and if there's not, we communicate it, and then we communicate, let's say, we're available at these times. And then, well, we can, of course, send reminders and confirmations. We'll come to that as well later. But I think most interesting is also we are able to reschedule potential, let's say, people who say, hey, we're not available at the time anymore. And we would be interested in rescheduling. So that is let's say, appointment scheduling and management is a pretty, let's say, important task for a business. And AI can kind of like take this task very, let's say, well. And at this point, actually handle it very autonomously as well. Actually, one point about appointment scheduling and management. One thing that may be overlooked is actually like reminders. And for example, for dental or just anything that is related to health services, it's actually very painful to have people schedule and not come in for the appointment. So it's very good actually to send them reminders and then ask them, hey, are you going to be available? If yes, then cool. If not, you want to schedule, and kind of like automate all of that and do it at scale. So for every client or user that you have, you're able to pretty much automate this process entirely with AI. Now, for customer support and FAQ handling, that means that whenever someone just, let's say, calls in for inbound call, for example, we're just able to help them. So it just helps us avoid that repetitive, these repetitive low tasks or questions that are just very common that people can actually like just find in the website. They can just call us or the business and just directly get these answers from the AI without just bothering, let's say, our support team. So it's actually good if, let's say, business receives a lot of calls and they tend to be very repetitive and very, let's say, yeah, like they're not going to convert into a sale. It's just providing some sort of information, which we can bake it into a knowledge base for AI and just respond to users whenever, let's say, they ask these questions. Yeah, we talked about it earlier. Automated reminders can be really powerful to just make sure that people show up to your appointment. So it's actually, in our case, it's shown that it reduced no shows by slashing them by 80%. which is quite strong, meaning that we are reminding people in different ways. Well, that can be SMS, that can be emails, that can even be calls like, hey, are you actually gonna come? Hey, remember that in 2 hours you have this call. You can actually call them and just remind them of this. If they don't pick up, you just go with SMS, and voila, like this way. But I think like the beautiful thing of doing it with calls is that once they say, hey, actually, I am not available. All right, then do you want to reschedule? Like that's something that you can pretty much delegate and handle really well when you call people. And especially now that you can do it with AI, we can just like simply do it autonomously and let AI do the job for you. And finally, survey calls. That's, let's say, one of the most repetitive calls that, let's say, businesses have to do is just pretty much following up after a service has been fulfilled and just, get an idea of how the service went, if there is any feedback. And actually, the interesting part is that people might find it difficult because, well, of course, they might need to receive, let's say, feedback from a human, and we, as humans, might be actually very subjective, and we might sugarcoat things. But actually, if you know that who is in front of you is actually a machine, you might end up being subconsciously just a lot more honest. I mean, there is also the topic of like, are people actually aware that they are talking to an AI? Well, that's a different topic, but you can kind of clarify, hey, like this is an AI assistant for this and that business. We're here to collect feedback to improve our services. So once they know that it's an AI, they will likely be a bit more honest and blunt instead of just like sugarcoating things to kind of like not hurt the person in front of them. So that can be a very interesting use case. Of course, because of its repetitive nature, it's really good to automate with AI. And also we're able to kind of like, after the call has been recorded and processed, we're able to analyze with AI, like with LLMs, with OpenAI, for example, the call performance. So it's not only like, you know, the results that we get from the survey, but also we're able to analyze the call itself on how it went. We can kind of like get different measures from how the call went. Like, was the person excited? Were they not very happy? Like, we may not ask it directly, but we might sense it from how they respond to our questions, and yeah, just sense it from overall how the call performed. All right, so that was it. These were the 5 use cases. I hope they could give you a better idea of what voice AI could be for. And if you want to see how this could fit into your own business, then I do invite you for a free consultation. I leave links in the description below. With that said, I thank you so much, and I see you in the next video.